increasing your prices? The answer to that question is yes. We have to meet obviously the demand that's there, and we have to adjust, right? If we're not pricing accordingly, taking in consideration what's happening around the world, we are going to end up being underpaid. You are going to be ending up underpaid. So it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't be a really strategic, or from a CEO standpoint, very smart decision not to raise your prices, because now, if you have teams, or if you want to hire a team, that's going to look a little bit different when it comes to pricing. So that's a question that has been coming up a lot with clients, and the answer to that is definitely yes. And figuring out what that increase might be is something that you can, just by looking right at what's costing and how expenses are going up, you can see. Definitely, if you're in coaching, you see that there's different apps that you're using, different things that you need to use in your business are just rising. So the answer to that one would be definitely a yes. It's time to increase our prices. And that will help us to also be able to continue providing amazing, value and services like free content, and being able to support our clients as well, because at the end of the day, we are providing a service and we need to get compensated for it. But in the DMs, and it was good, when it was fast, maybe now you're noticing that you need a lot more follow-up and touch points. Then maybe that's something that you can start addressing into your content, so that you can help that process be able to close that gap. So that's one thing, be able to address whatever hiccups are coming up, like how is this going to support them, how is this going to benefit them, and why you are the best person to be able to help them and support them. Naturally, this is something that we should be doing in our content anyways, but it's something that we need to do a little bit more when things come up, just kind of to be able to just put it in front of our ideal client. Why is it that this is so important and that they need it so much? Now, with that being said, when I say that we need to do this a little bit more often, it's because they're deciding where they're going to put their dollars, right? So if you can position your service, your offer as a need and not necessarily as a want, it's going to make things a lot easier and a no-brainer for them to make the decision to convert. Okay. Because at the end of the day, they don't know exactly how things are going to shift, and they want to see an ROI. That's in normal times. But when there is more stability, they're able to feel comfortable. Okay, I can make this back, right? But when there's no sense of stability, or we don't, or if we don't know exactly what's going on and what's going to happen, it tends to be more of a thing like, okay, what am I going to do? I need to be very careful where I'm putting my dollars. And maybe it's not that if they don't have the investment, it's just they're thinking harder as to where to put their investments in. So having a sale process that follows them through it's very important. Follow through with them, follow up and see where they're at, and also showing and showcasing how your service and your products are needed, okay, are needed to be able to give them what they need. So for example, if you're trying to, if you help an ideal client be able to increase their income, obviously that's, we all need that, right? We're all looking to increase our income. We're all trying to do it with less stress, with less time. So highlighting how your services can facilitate them increasing their income by X amount will help them to be able to see and do their own I don't want to say convincing, but their own math in their head of how that's a no-brainer, and an ROI will be an ROI for them, right? So highlighting that, so that means you requiring to understand what is it that they're looking for more right now, what is their pain point, right? For my type of clients, it'll be growth, right? Adjusting and navigating and increasing income. So obviously, I would highlight that. In your case, whether that is increasing income or having sustainability through these times, that's what we want to highlight. And that's very important, because every time they're trying to decide or they're going through something in their business, they'll remember that you highlighted, right? That your services and your support will help them increase or get the X amount that they're looking for, or the end result or the end goal. So it's always highlighting that, not how many calls your program has, not, how long it'll be, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's just, can I get what I'm looking for, by this, making this investment? That's all we want to know. That's all the ideal client wants to know. Can I get what I want by putting this investment in? And if you can focus on that, then that's how we can start closing that gap in that sales process. And even then, if you feel like, okay, I'm still putting that out there, Patty, and I'm still seeing that it's taking me a long time to do, then maybe that will mean that you need to look at your launching calendar and see what you need to do in order to um, adjust and adapt to that sales process now. Maybe it was, let's say, 2 week turnaround. Let me just give you an example. Maybe it's going to be now a 2 week turnaround or a 3 week turnaround. And just adjusting that so that you can also see how you can hit those income goals that you're looking for during that period of time. So that would be the thing number one there, how to adjust your sales process if it's taking longer and positioning your product or your services as a need, not as a want. Because right now it's more of what we need, right? We're only keeping on deck what we really need. So that's the mentality that ideal clients have, right? Especially when things are not that certain. So now we go into the next part of it, which is something that I've had this question come up so much, and it has to do more about mindset, I think, than anything else. But it's the question is, should I increase my prices? And the answer to that question is always going to be yes, because a recession, as we can all see, creates prices go up everywhere, right? We have inflation. So we have to keep that in mind. And this is normal in business world. Like this happens, right? This might be the first time you're seeing an inflation to this level, but we're always having to adjust depending on what's going on. Because let's say if you had apps that were like, I'm just going to put an example that was maybe like 150 a year, maybe you're paying closer to 200 now. And that's going to trickle down to you. And obviously, we are CEOs, we have businesses here that need to keep going and we need to make payments. So when we're trying to increase prices, it's not just looking at your income goal or your paycheck or the fancy goals you're trying to reach, but is really looking as a CEO, as a business owner, okay, these are the things that are going on, and I need to increase by whatever percentage, right? That might be 10%, that might be 5%. It just depends, right? So it's really being understanding that that's just part of making business decisions and not making yourself wrong because you're increasing prices. So many times clients are like, but I don't feel comfortable charging that. So there's a little bit of mindset work that needs to happen there where we need to shift and really see it as, a business decision that needs to be made in order to be able to continue, obviously, being sustainable and being here long term, and be able to facilitate, right, free content, be able to facilitate high value content, be able to provide services because businesses need bills to get paid in order to be moving on. There's no, if you decide to stay, okay, I'm just going to stay at my regular pricing, you might not see it right away, but at the end of the day, you will see, the fact that you didn't make adequate financial decisions hit your business, and then, start feeling difficulties and then really resenting because you were afraid of doing a CEO decision, a business owner decision that your business needed. So a lot of it is just shifting your mindset and really not looking at as, okay, what does Patty feel? Or what does, yeah, I'm going to use myself as an example. What does Patty feel? Instead of looking at what does a business need, right? And if the business needs me to decide to increase by 15% and it makes sense, and this is going to help my business long term, that's the decision I'm going to go with. And I'm not going to make myself feel wrong about that because as a business owner, those are the decisions that you need to make, right? So Patty might want an increase on her salary, right? Because now there's more things that I need to do, whatever, maybe I'm due for an increase. Now, that's still a decision that I need to make as a business owner. If I'm feeling pressed and making this decision where I don't feel good about it, then Patty needs to go ahead and sit down with that and really look at the reasons why I'm feeling this way. Is it because I'm scared? Is it because I'm afraid? What am I afraid of, right? Really digging deep into that feeling, but not as a business owner, really just looking at me, myself as a person. So it's the same thing I would invite you, and it's the same thing I ask um, clients to do, to really like unload and see what's going on when they're having a resistance and they don't really want to, not that they don't want to, but they're feeling resistance and increasing prices. Um, it's like, okay, I don't really think it has anything to do with the number. It's more about something that it's within them, and we need to really dig deep to it. And maybe a session is dedicated to that. What's the fear here, right? Something I might have you journal about. Why? What? Because you need to understand what that fear is. Because if we don't address that as the person, that can really come in into your business as a business owner and affect you and not make the business decisions that your business needs to be able to grow and be sustainable, be healthy, and be able to ride through just a season in the business world that we're going through, which is a recession. It's not the end of the world. It's just a season that the economic world is in, and that we just need to adjust as needed. And that's really it. So those are kind of the things that I've been going through with my clients and discussing and going. And, as you're in business for a few years, you tend to understand what's going on, and you tend to be like, okay, I know where we're heading and I know what's going on, and I'm just going to have to adjust to this. And it gets a little bit easier to navigate, but because you know already the things that you have to do, the things that you have to look at. But you might at times still find yourself coming back to that fear base where it's like, well, if I don't lower my prices, or if I don't do X, thing, I'm not going to get or what I want. And it's two different things, right? This business decisions you have to make, and you as a person, the fears, the beliefs, and really looking at that and addressing that and putting that on the side and doing your own work on that. But when it comes to making business decisions, really looking at the business at itself, because at the end of the day, it is a standalone business entity that needs you to make decisions for the benefit of it, for it to be here, right? If we don't make strategic and smart decisions in our business, then obviously, which is the vehicle that helps us to get things that we want, we won't be able to do that long term. So that's something, if anything, you take from here today is that it's really look at it. It's two different things. Your fears, your feelings is one. Doesn't mean it's a reality. And number two, it's like, okay, business is separate from you. It's its own entity. What is it going to need in order for that vehicle to keep going and keep taking me where I want to go, right? And that might be right now increasing your prices. That might mean now adjusting and pivoting your sales process. That might mean really listening to your audience and seeing what they're asking for, and can you provide that for them. What else have I mentioned to my ideal clients? It's just really adjusting. Maybe going into 2022, we had all these plans and all these goals, and now we're finding that we need to adjust. One thing I'm always going to say is strategy is just a strategy, right? It's a plan, but be willing to adjust and to adapt, because it's going to look different. As long as we get to the end goal and the end that we're looking for, that's all that matters. How we get there might shift, we might need to adjust, and that's okay. Don't necessarily tie yourself into it. It has to be done this way. It needs to come, my goal needs to come from this program. For example, let's say right now you're noticing that the sales process is taking longer, and you were planning to launch something maybe at the end of quarter 3, quarter 4, and you're like, what am I going to do now with this taking longer? Well, maybe you need to readjust. Maybe you need to start beforehand, right? So it's just looking at all those things and those tweaks that you can make. Be open to that, very open to be flexible, very open to be adjustable, to be able to ride the constant shifts and changes that are happening in the business world, in the economic world, in the world in itself, to be able to navigate it. So that's what I wanted to share with you this week. If you want to know more about business, sales, marketing, and how to grow and scale your business, then definitely join me next week, where I'll share with you more tips and tricks, not tricks, but tips and strategies as to how to get there through the next episode in the podcast.